So when I was a child, I was raised by a single mom for a lot of my life. My mom is awesome. Like, she is super cool, such a loving woman, and a lot of the reason why I am who I am is because of that lady. With her being a single mom, I often was put into different places for a while to be watched while she was working. And one of them was a location at a relative's house. But there was a particular room that one of my relatives would take me into. And I remember specifically there was a poster on the wall that had different emotions on it. It was like a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel, kind of like at the doctor's office. You put 2 and 2 together, but that was the beginning stages of where my trust in the opposite sex began to deplete. And I remember looking at that poster, seeing that little sad face, and staring at that. By the grace of God, we ended up moving, and my mom got relocated to a different place. Around that time, I had been at a private school, and I was diagnosed with childhood cancer. So I always had to sit in a stroller for a really long time, being like a big child sitting in a stroller, but looking so weak that I looked like I belonged in that stroller. I got put into remission. I was told I was supposed to live only until the age of 12, but I'm still here. My mom and I ended up getting sick together. I had bloody noses for a really long time, and they would last for quite a few hours. And there was one particular day where I had a bloody nose that lasted a span of over 10 hours, and it was really bad, so I got called to the emergency room, and I had been diagnosed with something called meningitis. That's like an inflammation in the brain. And because my mom was so wonderful and how much she just stayed by my side, never leaving, she ended up getting the meningitis as well. Then I wasn't really allowed to visit my mom, and that was really hard because we were all we had at that point. But to be honest with you, at that time, like, even though it was so dark, from what I remember, it was so dim. Like, I just remember my mom's smile and how she was just always so bright in that moment, or in those moments. At this time, I didn't know that the Lord was beginning to really whisper his name and already claim me as his. So at around the age of 8 or 9, I think it is, my mom meets my stepdad. He's different now, but at that time, he wasn't the best man. But the Lord was, taking situations that he would one day reclaim, and being 8 or 9, already scared of men, and just not having the best stepdad at the time. Seeing how my mom was being treated was kind of dark, a dark season. But by the grace of God, again, it just got so much better. My pops is amazing. It just goes to show how much, restoration is possible. He's one of my best friends now. So I love you, Pops. And so I remember my parents, it got better around 7th to freshman year of high school. My family was really, really, really great. My stepsister, stepbrother, and I would just play imaginary baseball. It was all really great. And that season is where I began to fall in love with art and creative design, and finding things that I loved, and I would perform and sing and dance. And it was a really, really good season. And so I was in public high school from 7th to freshman year. And like I said, again, the Lord was beginning to, was already always there. I just didn't know it yet. Because I had been so loosely interactive with the word of love, that played into how my mentality was when I was in high school. It was in high school that I actually began to develop a eating disorder. I began to question my identity and had depression and suicidal thoughts every day. I was still really active in my classes, and I was in AP classes, and I was like on yearbook and campus ministry and all these things, but you really didn't know what it looked like when I went home alone before I went to bed, and what that like alone part looked like, and what I was talking to myself in like such discouragement, just this like really, really dark place. And there was a particular time, I was actually laughing about it the other day because God's details and intimacy and how he loves us. But I remember writing 3 suicide letters while I was sitting in a chapel. I had written 3 letters, 1 for my best friend, 1 for my mom, and 1 to God, actually. I don't know how I didn't go through with it. I really don't know, but I know that I'm still here. It was around my senior year that I began to like really act out internally, and it began to act out on how I was treating my parents. And I remember just feeling so alone and just wanting my mom, always pushing her away. It was my senior year of high school that I began to smoke. That was like an escape for me, I guess, which I know it doesn't sound bad because the world says like it's casual and normal now, but for me at that time it wasn't a healthy thing for me to tap into. Like it wasn't a means of escape. It was like a lie telling me that it was good because it made me feel good for the moment. I never tell anybody this part of my story, only the right ears, but the Lord has released me from this as well, the shame that I had, and I say that kindly for those who listen. I had a girlfriend for a little bit. I was really, really lost. Lost meaning I just had been so damaged by the opposite sex, even though I had guys interested at this point, and I was still like walking through this breakage of not knowing how to trust anybody, but I was still searching for some kind of affection that I had begun to walk in what became a really like abusive relationship. I remember wanting to leave and just being threatened on what she would do if I left, and it was a really, really dark season. My heart was just so broken. I just felt like I was just putting myself in mess after mess. There was this one place on campus that was called the Chapel. To be sincere with you, like that is the place that I went to go cry and not even really know like what to pray or what it meant to have a relationship with the Lord yet and to serve him, but I knew that he was good, and that's where I just would go bring my pain. That was my freshman year, and it seemed like things got worse for a while, and I was confused because I was like, Lord, I'm bringing this to you. Why is this continuing to hurt? And I didn't know that he was very much beginning to honor my prayers, answer my prayers, lead my life inside out. My sophomore year rolls around, and before that happens, I had met a boy the semester before that I would run into. This new boy was really cute. He invited me to a new church that was completely different than I had ever been to before. People were excited to be there. There were people greeting one another. There were people like genuinely with this light in them. And what I really thought was going to be a love story between that boy and I became a love story between Jesus and I. And the pastor was saying, I don't know who needs to hear it, but stop running and come home. You are already home. To be really honest with you, that is when my life changed. It was August 27th, 2017, that I surrendered and gave my life to the Lord, and no day has looked the same since. He has delivered me from depression, self-harm, my question in identity, the breakage with my family, the cigarettes, like the deep, deep darkness of my heart. Everything he has taken it and claimed new and claimed whole and claimed with love. People meet me now and they're like, oh, you're so like full of faith. It's a privilege, and it's an honor to be, because I know that I broke his heart for so long. I did so many things that were misaligned with who he created me to be. I did it for 19 years. Yet he has called me home and called me his and called me with love, and still loves me to this day, even though I'm still not perfect. I never will be, but I serve a perfect God. But to every one of you, and those that I don't know, and people who have seen my posts, you are loved by the Most High God. You were created by the Most High God, and you are liked by the Most High God. He sees, He knows, He loves. It's in His kindness that He leads us to repentance. It's in His kindness that I am here.